Hi everybody. I hope you'll forgive me. I kind of have a bad head cold, so I'm a little stuffed up, but I'm going to do my best to make a good video. I just wanted to say that I enjoyed this class really because it helped me understand how Adlerian theory can be applied in real life, kind of in a clinical sense. A lot of times in class we talk about how, uh, you know, disorders appear in general or Adlerian terms kind of in a general way, but we don't really talk about how they can be kind of meshed together and applied. And I felt like applying the theory to actual cases kind of helped me understand how applicable and useful this theory is. I'm just really starting to grasp and understand how social interest really plays such a vital role um, in the theory in general. And before this class, it kind of seemed like, I understood the concept, but it didn't really make sense to me how it related back to disorder and pathology. So that really helped me understand a lot kind of about the theory and kind of helped me, appreciate the theory a little bit more. Additionally, I'm also continually surprised at how unified the theory is and how much Adler can bring everything back to this one core concept of social interest and, being involved in society and having community feeling. One of my favorite quotes from the Ansbacher and Ansbacher book was where Adler was defending his theory to critics like Freud and other people, and he said, in response to them saying, well, you just have the same diagnosis for everything, and your reasoning behind everything is that people don't have social interest. And he said, to me and others, it will be valuable for just this reason. And I think it is really valuable for that reason because so many times in psychology, it's, people don't give other people the same diagnosis or, diagnoses are changing. And sometimes it's just encouraging to think that there's going to be common themes like social interest and striving and those kind of things that will be common in all cases. I found all the dynamics we talked about really interesting, but I think my favorite concept was pampered and neglected children. And I feel like I was really drawn to that concept because I spend so much time with kids and I teach preschool, so I feel like I pick up a lot of stuff on what their home life is like, what their parents treat them like, just by observing their behavior and talking with them. And I definitely see kids who are pampered a lot feeling discouraged and feeling like they can't do things, don't know where to start. So it's really fascinating to me to see kind of how this plays into life and development. And we just know, we've talked a couple of times in the class about how important the first few years of a child's life are. And, by being pampered or neglected, I think that really sets the stage for a difficult future. Adler stated, and this is a direct quote, that a child is likely to develop a self-centered, non-cooperative style of life with an unrealistic goal of superiority, i.e. the neurotic disposition, if he finds himself overburdened during this formative period. So the overburdening childhood situations include organ inferiorities, which is a completely different topic, and pampering and neglect. Adler felt that pampered children kind of developed skewed lifestyles because they felt like they should be weighted on hand and foot, and they felt entitled, like they were always deserving something from other people, and they didn't really work to deserve that. And their mode of surviving life and the only way they know how to do things is to demand things from other people. And because of this, these kids don't have a sense of independence. They don't have a sense of, encouragement. They feel useless and powerless. And a pampered child will often become discouraged because they are continually receiving the message that they aren't capable of doing things for themselves. Pampered children don't learn how to cooperate with others, and they don't get things done on the useful side of life. And additionally, change terrifies pampered children because they dread the day where their pamperer will no longer be around or be there to give them to make them the center of attention. And a lot of times I think with people who are struggling, we see that they aren't finding a way to be pampered now that they're adults. And I think that's really hard for people. So I think that can be really an applicable thing to look at. Neglected children also experience overburdening childhood situations. These children are often unwanted, hated, or ignored. And they, haven't been completely neglected. They've been fed and clothed and all that stuff, but they haven't ever really felt a sense of belonging and love and part of a community or family. And Adler states, and again, this is a direct quote, that pampered children are blind to the existence of cooperation, isolated, unable to communicate with others, and completely ignorant of everything that would help him to live in association with human beings. And that's also from the Ansbacher book. And I kind of really relate this to the case of Jeffrey Dahmer, because it seems to me that he experienced a lot of neglect as a child. His father was never really around, and his mother was sort of wrapped up in her own issues. And when they were both around, it seemed to me like they were kind of using all their time to fight with each other. And I think this led Dahmer to feel really discouraged in life, and like he really wasn't important, and he didn't really belong in the grand scheme of things or his family. He didn't have a ton of friends, and I just see him as a very discouraged child. So Adler states that neglected children feel curtailed and behave like enemies. They use their strength only if they are stronger, sometimes in a cruel manner against weaker persons or animals. And we definitely saw this in the case of Jeffrey Dahmer. He started from an early age hurting animals or looking at animals or, using that as a way to feel power, I think, in kind of his own fantasy world. And then later on in life, we see him kind of switch that focus over to people. We see Dahmer states that he has the need to create somebody who he can control and who will stay with him forever. I think at one point in the documentary we watched, he said, the only motive there ever was to control a person I thought was physically attractive. And Dahmer felt so discouraged and inferior that all he wanted to do, it seems, was to control other people. And he didn't know how to do that in a useful way because he didn't have social interest. He never developed that, and he didn't know how to, apply things on the useful side of life. And just as a result of being neglected as a child, I think he's unable to form healthy relationships with others, and he's constantly striving for superiority over others by controlling them rather than working with them. So I think, Adler's theory does a really great job of explaining a lot of Dahmer's behaviors and tendencies and the things he does. And again, we can just sort of see the unity of his theory. I mean, we see that all of Adler's terms like life tasks and organ inferiority and striving for superiority and all of those things kind of relate back to Dahmer's sense of social interest that's not there. And I just thought it was really kind of cool, but kind of creepy, I guess, at the same time, how his neglectful childhood related back to all those things. And just because he was neglected and discouraged as a child, he just never developed that adequate social interest, and he never learned how to cooperate with others. And as a result of that, he was constantly striving for power and superiority. So I really enjoyed this class. I think it gave me a unique chance to apply the theories and the concepts we've been talking about for so long to actual clinical cases, and that was really helpful for me. And I would just also like to say that I really enjoyed sort of getting to know everybody in this class and reading everybody's feedback. I learned a lot from all of you, and it was really nice to hear your perspectives and, to hear what you had to say about what I was thinking. So I wish you all the best of luck in the future at Adler, and I hope to have another class with you. Thanks.